There you go.
Hello, and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that wants to shed a light on the very fundamental contribution that African Americans have given to the building of this country. It is a show about Black excellence, and to continue in our celebration of Black History Month, today we talk about the perfect theater production for Black History Month. It's titled Freedom Summer. It is produced by the North Carolina Black Repertory Company, and it is having right now its virtual world premiere, which will last until the end of this month. I'm very honored to announce that our special guests today are the playwright, Cynthia Grace Robinson, and the director of Freedom Summer, Jackie Alexander. Welcome to My Harlem Portraits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie Alexander, let's start from you. You are a multi-award winning actor, writer, producer, and director. You were the former director of the Billie Holiday Theater in New York, an amazing theater with amazing productions, and the artistic director, and you're now the artistic director of the North Carolina Black Repertory Company. You are the producer of the very important National Black Theater Festival, which is held every 2 years in Salem, North Carolina. I saw it, it's wonderful. We will talk about that. We will one special show just about that festival.
Sounds good.
You won 7 Adelco Awards, including Best Play. And I'm talking about the Adelco Awards because we have introduced the Adelco Awards a few times. So our viewers know who the Adelco Awards represents and what it is. Cynthia Grace Robinson, you are a playwright, a writer, a producer, and an educator. And you have so many achievements that I cannot mention them all. So I will mention just one that for New Yorker is important: Tribeca All Access Open Stage Inaugural Award. That sounds pretty impressive to me. Okay, let's start with Mr. Alexander. Yours is North Carolina. It's the first professional Black theater company. Tell us a little bit about the mission of this company and the type of plays and people that it represents.
As you mentioned, North Carolina Black Repertory Company, or NC Black Rep, was the first Black theater company in North Carolina. Our founder, Larry Leon Hanlon, founded the theater company to present works focused on the African-American experience. And today, one of our principles is discovering new works. We seek out new works. We produce one new world premiere every season. So kind of looking to be like a birthplace of new writers here in Winston-Salem with the National Black Theater Festival. And we focus on African-American productions from the full African diaspora and try to present plays that, you know, entertain, educate, enlighten. We want to entertain you, but we also want to spark debate when you leave the theater. And that's kind of the mission of what we're trying to do here. And
educate also, because you have the Teen Theater Ensemble program, right?
Which starts up, yes, that starts up March 1st, the Teen Theater Ensemble. Started by Mabel Robinson, who was our former artistic director. And this year we're having a special TTE. There'll be 3 months of training, and then the kids will actually perform at the 2021 National Black Theater Festival. So they'll have a month of playwriting work, a month of acting, and a month of musical theater. And they'll be helping to create the piece, which is To Catch a Fox by Chuck Burks, which will be performed on the main stage at the festival in August.
Wonderful. And how many young people participate to this program?
Auditions are next week. We normally have about 15 kids in the class, 15 to 20 students. I know the play requires 15 students, so that's normally the range we have.
Where can they apply?
ncblackrep.org. You can get all the information on the website. Just seek out TTE under programs, and they'll have a link there to sign up for auditions, which is next Saturday. And we're having virtual and live auditions. The first 4 hours of next Saturday on the 20th, you can audition online. And the next 4 hours, you can come into the office.
Wonderful. So for our viewers who are interested in that, make a note and get in touch. Cynthia, your play takes place on August 4th, 1964, and it's set against the background of the Mississippi Voting Rights Projects. I saw it last night. I found it very powerful. My moods went up and down with it. It was so engaging that I couldn't miss 1 second of it. And normally, you know, theater plays are done to see live because you want to have that interaction with the actors. But this is the first time that I didn't feel the need to be there. I felt I was right into the scene. And I think on top of your direction and your playwright, it was also beautiful work of camera because you really were into the play. And the story is so pertinent, so up to date. And not only because it's Black History Month, but because unfortunately we are in a political climate that is not so much different from that climate that you were talking about in your play, where voting rights are still not a given right for minorities. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about this story.
Okay, well, thank you all, first of all, for all of that and for your comments. I really appreciate it. I'm very humbled by that. So as you said, the play takes place on August 4th, 1964, and it happened to be the day that 3 young civil rights workers have been found dead in Mississippi. They also were part of something called the Mississippi Project, where they were registering Black voters in the Deep South, and what also became the Freedom Summer Project. Mm-hmm. And so that's the backdrop. And it's just so interesting that Jackie was just talking about young people, because it really, in my mind, is about young people. Mm-hmm. And how the circumstances of the outside world impact them. The 2 main characters, Carrie and Nora, are young women, sisters, and they are going through a very, I would say, turbulent moment in their lives, in that they are trying to discover themselves in terms of their identity. They're trying to work out some things in terms of family conflict, because one of the things I like to say the play is about is how do you climb out of your family tree. Yep. And they're really struggling with how to become free as individuals. And so by them being impacted by what is going on in the outside world, we see their internal conflict and the external conflict. And I think that makes it really timely as well, because what we're going through right now, when we talk about social justice issues, right? Voting, violence in the streets, racism. We also have to think about how does that impact people on a personal level in their private lives. So when I saw the production, it brought up a lot of new things for me to discover. One of them being, the play really pulls the curtain back from what happens when people have to deal with the struggles that are going on politically and socially when they go home, and how that impacts them.
Absolutely. Jackie, what inspired you? What made you choose to produce and direct this play? And if you can tell us a little bit about the story of the 2 sisters.
NC Black Rep has a program called Living Room Theater, where we take stage readings out into the community. We'll do them at museums, on campuses, really anywhere where there's a stage and where people don't have access to theater, senior citizens' homes and stuff like that. So Freedom Summer was submitted. I've known Cynthia for several years. I loved the play when I read it. And it was a part of the 2018 Living Room Theater series. And we did it on the campus of Winston-Salem State University. And the reaction was very powerful, but a lot of the students there didn't know the story, which I found surprising. And I thought it was such a important piece of history, and I just couldn't believe kids it's not that long ago, didn't know about this.
They
So
didn't know about the freedom riders and all this.
I
Wow.
had no idea. It was
That is
like, it's
crazy.
a great story. We did, and again, wanting to educate and entertain. I love when people leave a reading or a performance and they go seek out information. It's great when you can entertain and educate and kind of prompt people to learn more. So I thought this would be the perfect production, and it was actually scheduled for March of 2020. We actually closed down the production 4 days before it was supposed to open. So just the story, it deals with it's set against the backdrop of the Voting Rights Project, but it's so intimate, and it really shows how violence against a community, against Black bodies, kind of scar that community. You never leave it behind. And these two women, a lot of plays, two sisters, right?
Two sisters, one who's very light and one who's much darker.
Yes.
Because that's the very important thing in this play.
Exactly, yes. One of
Coloring
the sisters, Nora, is actually living her life. She's passing as a white woman in Boston. And her younger sister, Carrie, has made a choice to pass up on her career and go down and work to register Blacks to vote. So pretty much putting her life on hold to fight for the cause of helping Blacks to register to vote. And it's these two women, the conversations they have, they're emotional, there's an emotional intensity to it, but as I was saying the other night, there's such intelligent conversations. They really touch so many different topics and how, again, that violence against a community scars your psyche and affects you and affects every decision you make. And I just thought the writing is just brilliant. You said watching it felt like very personal, because it is very personal. It's such an intimate portrayal, and the dialogue is so authentic. And I think that's what makes great theater. And I got that reading it, and I found two amazing actors who just brought it to life so beautifully, that it almost feels like you're not watching a play. You're just sitting in on a conversation between two sisters. And I think that was the beauty of it.
Yes, it was fantastic. And what also struck me is that when I read the synopsis, I felt, well, I'm gonna be a fan of a sister who's not passing, all right? But when I followed it, you were so incredible in showing both perspectives in such a clear way that there was you couldn't be on one side or on the other side. You could see both perspectives and understand both of them. And I was on one moment, I was, no, Nora is right. And then I was, no, she's right. No, Nora is right. I didn't know what to do. It was incredible. And one thing that really struck me is the way you use the word invisible, which Nora uses, the light skin.
Yes.
Usually is like the invisible man.
Right.
You tell the difference, because I think that was it really struck me.
Well, the first thing I want to say is thank you for affirming your experience with the play. That was the goal, for it to be a push and pull.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be clean, right? And it's sort of like the different parts of the psyche, I think, of many Black people living in this country. It's sort of like, so I'm glad that it was kind of messy for you watching it. I think that that's really important. As far as the word invisible, I grew up, my father used to always speak about living in the skin, meaning living as a Black person in this country. And we would talk a lot about how we're not invisible on one hand, but we are invisible on another, and sort of like right now, we have all of these issues where people feel there's a lot of profiling. So in those cases, you're not invisible, right? But then when it comes to institutionalized racism, then you are invisible. So I'm very intrigued by this idea of being seen. And that's something that is part of our conversation that's going on in America right now. Unfortunately, we were having that conversation in 1964, and I was just talking to someone about an hour ago, and the question was, well, when will we not be having that conversation? I said, I don't know. And one thing that struck me watching it last night was when Nora asked, well, when will we ever live to see change? So we see Carrie, she's really hopeful. She thinks we're going to see change in her lifetime, and she's willing to fight for that. And then Nora saying, well, we may never see it. It might be decades. And Carrie's
our generations,
right. And she's saying, of course, we're going to see change. It's inevitable. Change is inevitable. And then fast forward, here we are. And so that's a really heavy thought for me. I don't, but I do believe that with every person that fights, all the Carries in the world, all the young people that have fought, and everyone, I think we're going to see movement of a needle. I don't know that we're going to see the end of racism and white supremacy, but I think the needle will move. It will move. It does move.
It has moved already.
It has moved. And
last summer it's moved.
Yes.
All over the world.
That's right. So, what I like about the piece is this was an opportunity to just explore how messy it really is and how unfinished this work really is. But just to go back to something that that Jackie said about the teen program, I'm a lifetime educator. I've been working with young people my whole life, and I still work with young people, and I get to really talk to them about their frustrations. But I try to remind them, and this is what I hope the piece will do, that college activism, student activism, young activism has always been at the forefront of change in this country. And I think it's important for us to remind our young people that they have power. They have power. When the other generations have become complacent and given up, they have power. And so that conversation between the sisters is supposed to reflect that very complicated conversation. But I hear what you're saying, because even when I'm watching it, I'm just sort of like, well, Nora's not wrong, but Carrie's not wrong either. I think they're both right, actually, in different ways. And so, that to me
from their own perspective.
From their own perspectives. But what's interesting is that they come from the same place, but yet they have diversity in their points of view, which is very important, because I think it's important to represent Black people as people who have diverse opinions. We are not a monolith, and we come from different places, even in terms of the same issue. So that's what that was supposed to represent.
Jackie, do you think that this diversity, the fact that they are it's obviously because of the skin color they have, these two sisters, that what changes totally their outlook on life, because the other people look at them in a different way?
And I think also their experience. They grew up, Nora lost someone she loved. And I think, I love also that there's no villain when you really, because it's easy, you want to say this person is bad and this person's good. But when you look at what she had suffered, losing the love of her life, that defines you. Yeah, so that they grew up in the same house, but even with her light skin, she was damaged more by the racism. She's carrying that weight of losing her love. Carrie didn't lose the love of her life. Nora did. And of course, she found an escape. She found a way to, when she hands that picture, I find that such a painful moment in the play, when she takes the picture of her lost love and she's like, I'm leaving, because that's a sign that she has been holding on to it.
Yep.
But I'm leaving that behind. I want to leave all that behind. And no one wants to live in misery. So can you blame her for wanting to put that behind her? You know, so they are two sisters. They grew up in the same house, but again, the world hit them different ways. In the exact same household, they came out two very different people, and Nora did have an escape through her skin. And it affected the younger sister also. And the two actresses are Nikyla Boxley plays Carrie, and Mariah Guilemette plays Nora. And Nikyla's monologue at the end about being the younger, darker sister is brilliant.
Yes.
I mean, brilliantly written. It was brilliantly performed. Again, what Mariah did with Nora, who was such an easy character to stereotype, it was a subtle portrayal, and you really saw the pain. There's such, and I'm getting stuck on the actors because they're so young and their performances were so layered. And I think these two characters were written that way. These two sisters were two very complex people, and that's brought to life beautifully by Cynthia.
Okay. Yes, it really, thank you so much. I'm really happy that I had opportunity of saying it before talking about this. We are nearly at the end now. We have only 2 minutes left, which is crazy.
Wow.
It goes so fast. But please tell where it can be seen right now. And then we talk about the National Black Theater Festival for a moment.
Okay, you can go to ncblackrep.org. On the homepage. There'll be a link to take you to the Artery site to stream it. And it's through February 28th, $15. It's the bargain of a lifetime. So go to ncblackrep.org. There'll be a link right there to take you to the site.
It's really it's wonderful.
And may I say one thing before just to close it? I think the play is also about love. It's about love. I feel like it's an imperfect love story between two sisters. And the thing, even though they're from different points of view, they have a lot of pain they're trying to unpack. They're grieving in different ways, and in some ways in the same way. It's the love that keeps bringing them back. So one of my favorite things about the play is that it's a family, and how we can still come back even in our pain. We may not stay together, but one of the things that I really enjoyed watching these two actresses portray was a love between two sisters. Like I just really, and I found myself also crying at different parts, which, as if I was surprised it was happening, but, they just did such a fantastic job. So I just hope everybody, tunes in to see these two young women and to join the conversation of this story.
I hope that we are going to see this summer at the National Black Theater Festival. Are we?
You will. I'll just let that out of
Wonderful. Because I missed the last festival, but I was there the festival before, and I just loved the way it is organized. So tell us a little bit about the National Black Theater Festival, which is really an international Black Theater Festival.
Founded in 1989, it attracts about 65,000 people to Winston-Salem. It's the first week in August every odd numbered year. So this year it'll be August 2nd through the 7th. We produce about 30 main stage productions, 5 fringe productions, 50 play readings, movie screenings, and countless workshops and international colloquium on Black theater. There's something to do from 8 in the morning till 4 in the morning. There's very little sleep. And it's really a communion, a family reunion. People plan their family reunions at the festival. So I think this year, after being locked away for the past 18 months, people were really itching. Believe it or not, 2019 was our biggest festival. But as of right now, we have more hotel reservations this year than we did in 2019.
I'm wearing my purple, by the way.
Yes.
I'm repping Black, National Black Theater Festival, NC Black Rep with my purple, and I will have all my purple ready for this summer.
You know, that's so funny because in Italy, purple, it's a color you do not want to wear in theater.
Huh,
It brings bad luck because
wow.
purple is the color of Lent. And during Lent, performers were not allowed to perform. And therefore, for them, it was a time in which they couldn't make money.
Okay.
And I found out the first time that I was working at the Scala Milan, and I arrived with a purple thing on, and everybody was looking at me like, what are you doing? That's what I found out. But it's so funny because purple is one of my favorite colors.
And Larry Leon Hamlin picked it. It represents royalty.
Yes.
And that's why, you know, he chose the colors for the company and for the festival. So
And the
there's a
logo.
lot of unknowns with COVID, but we are hoping, you know, we're planning a hybrid festival where we do some virtual events, but the festival really is about the communion of people together, and we're hoping everybody can join us this August.
Come to Winston-Salem. Our viewers, you have to experience this immersion in culture, history, art. It is amazing. Music, happiness. It's amazing. It's really something that I had never experienced before. It's wonderful. But you and I, we are going to talk about that in a special edition about the festival again. So I thank you today, Cynthia. Thank you very, very much for this amazing play you wrote. Don't stop writing this kind of stuff because we need more and more of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, for directing and choosing it. And thank you for being at My Harlem Portraits. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
so much.
To the viewers. Bye-bye.